Hi, Nick Glaves, back again on one of these videos. I am the MD of Stag Media, and today I'm going to talk about writing scripts. When I started in PR quite a few years ago, the vast majority of what we wrote was press releases, news releases, maybe feature articles for magazine, that kind of thing. Then as things went more digital, we progressed to sort of web content, which we do a great deal of now. But now I spend a lot of my time writing scripts, whether that's for videos, which we make a lot of for clients, or whether it's short snippets like for podcast adverts and things like that. Script writing is a big part of my job. And script writing is different from press releases, it's different from news releases, feature articles. So we're going to look at a few tips on how to create the best scripts you can. The first tip is a sort of fairly obvious one, and this doesn't just apply, I suppose, to writing scripts, but it's actually really relevant to it, and that's to start with a plan. It might sound a really obvious thing to do, but there's a lot of room for videos to really go astray and go off topic as people try and make sort of artistic videos or really engaging videos. There's really a lot of possibility of that happening, and that means the script's going to go astray or very easily could do. And go off into areas that maybe aren't necessarily relevant to the topic, and that's going to really detract from the key messages that you're trying to get across. So having a plan in place is a really important thing to do with a script, and with a video. Plan it out. Some people even go through to storyboarding it. We don't do that with every video, but we do sometimes. But it just gives the video itself or the piece of content direction, and by giving direction to that piece of content, you're going to give direction to the script, and you're going to come up with something concise, something that's really engaging and will actually tell the story that you want to tell. So always start with a plan. It's essential. Tip number 2 is about structure. So when we come to writing scripts, we tend to break them down into 3 parts. We've got a hook, a really engaging upfront hook. Then we've got the key messages of what we're trying to get across, whether it's about a product or a service. And then we've got a strong call to action. And we tend to always structure our scripts in that way. So a hook might be just a single line, just a single benefit of the product or the service that the video is about or the advert is about, that just wows the listener right off the bat. So it really engages them, piques their interest, and gets them to listen to the rest of it. Or it might set out a question, an interesting question again, that's going to pique their interest and that they're going to want to learn the answer to. So that's how we would use a hook, and that's what we mean by a hook. It's something that's going to grab their attention straight away. Key messages, obviously, we want to get across the benefits of the product or service we're trying to market, we're trying to sell, or if it's a campaign, we want to change people's behavior, we've got to get the key messages of the campaign across in the middle section. And then a call to action. You always need a call to action in all of your marketing content. And that really is because you want to tell people at the end of the piece of content what you want them to do. Don't leave them in any confusion. Don't just let it fizzle out and come to an end so that they don't know what to do, or they just leave without taking an action. We want people to take an action, whether that's going to a landing page and using a money off voucher, or going to a page on a website for more information, or whatever that might be. Make sure that you tell them and reflect that in your script. Get that into your script at the end. It's really important. Point 3 is learning to write to time. And this is where writing for a script differs quite considerably from writing other forms of content, such as press releases, web articles, and that kind of thing. Very often, if you take, for example, podcast adverts, you have to write them to a specific length of time. It might be 30 seconds, 25 seconds, something like that. So you don't have a lot of space. And actually, it's a really good discipline to learn to write to a time. The way I approach this is I write down everything I want to say in the advert or on the script, and I quite simply time myself saying it. And what I usually find is, the vast majority of cases is it's far too long, and then I have to start about the process of editing down. Now that process in itself is a very useful exercise in learning to write a lot better, because if you can edit something down while keeping all the key points and the key information, that's an incredible exercise, and it's a skill and a challenge within itself. So for me personally, that's how I do it. Other people might have other ways, but I write all the key points I want. I use the language that I want to use. Then I relentlessly edit it down until I get it to the time it needs to be. And that's really how I suggest approaching stuff. But as I say, as an exercise in itself, in increasing your writing skills and your communication skills, that is a really good way to approach doing that. Tip 4, when writing scripts for videos or audio purposes, is to write as you speak, or to write as your audience speaks, if that's different. When you're writing reports or press releases or feature articles for magazines, you tend to use quite formal language. You might even have to stick to a house style if you're writing for a particular publication, which actually dictates the kind of words that you're going to use in any given circumstance. But when you write for a video, you want the experience to be comfortable for the viewer. You want it to feel more relaxed. You want it to be engaging, and you want to resonate with your audience. Most importantly, that's what you want to do. You want it to resonate. So write in a vernacular that they will understand. Use colloquialisms if necessary, but write in such a way that it will resonate with them, and that's going to make your video or your audio content much more appealing to them. Number 5 is particularly for writing video scripts, which is have a visual in mind when you're writing them. The reason for that is a lot of the scripts that we write are actually voiceovers. They're not necessarily actors or people speaking to camera. They're voiceovers over the whole video, explaining and getting across the messages you want to get across. And very often that's going to be over what we call GV, general views, of moving images and images relevant to the topic of the video. But you have to make the words then relevant to those images, because if you don't do that, there's going to be a disconnect and the video is not going to work very well. So have those visions in mind, because that goes really back to your planning what you're going to say, over what particular part of the video. And as I say, if the words and the images don't match up, then it's going to make for fairly uncomfortable viewing. For my final point number 6, I want to reiterate something I talked about earlier in the video, which is always have a strong call to action. Always tell the listeners or the viewers what you want them to do when they get to the end of the piece of content, when you get to the end of your script. And so with that in mind, if you need any more advice on script writing or you want a video making, go to redstagmedia.co.uk, get in touch with us, and we'd really love to discuss any ideas you might have.